Cars! As Americans, we either love them or have no choice but to depend on them. The open road is in our history and by design, our culture and way of life. Even if you don't have a car, taking a Greyhound is kind of an affordable American thing. Hi, I'm Foxpresso, and I'm going to assume that if you're planning to go to a furry con, then you may end up hitting the road. And with good reason. If you have the time, driving is the most flexible way to get to a furry con. You can bring as much as your vehicle can carry and are mostly in control of when you go and select costs. Plus, you can make a road trip with friends! From what I've noticed, most cons can take a day or two to get to, and how you account for either really depends on how far you're going to drive. Regardless of how long the trip is going to be, you're going to have to keep in mind the one constant: fuel. Be it gas or electric, you're going to have to power your motors. For gas cars, you can get a good idea of how much your fuel is going to cost by dividing the total trip miles by the average MPG of your vehicle. You can then multiply that with the average gas cost at the time to get a good estimate for your gas budget. For those who don't want to do the math, I recommend going to fueleconomy.gov/trip, linked down below in the description. Just input your car make, model, year, and where you're driving, and you'll get a good estimate for a one-way cost. Of course, this doesn't account for stops, traffic, and other things that can modify your fuel efficiency, so do add about a 10% buffer to the cost, just in case. For electric cars, it really depends on the cost of electricity in your home, the range in your vehicle, and wherever you charge along the way. Odds are, if you own an electric car, you already know how much you consume per kilowatt hour, so you just need to do the math on the cost for the trip from there. Odds are, it's cheaper than gas even if you need to make a meal stop to recharge. Services like PlugShare can be a good resource for helping you plan charging points for your trip. Now that we got those basics covered, I want to mention that the average driving threshold for a furry con is up to 500 miles or around 8 hours of driving. Anything further would likely require staying overnight somewhere or having others with you who can rotate on the driving. This isn't necessarily a common practice, so we'll focus mostly on the day trips. Overnight stays I'll cover in the hotel section of this series. Before you leave, make sure that you get your car tuned up if you haven't already. Check for fluids such as oil, washer, and the brakes. Make sure that your bulbs are in working condition as well, and if you're going to a convention in the winter months, or will be driving through terrain that is known to snow around the time of the convention, be sure to carry chains or have snow tires ready. I've linked a guide on how to install chains below. While we are used to being in the digital era, keep in mind that there may be times where your phone still won't be useful. For instance, driving to BLFC through the desert is still rife with dead zones, especially if you're not relying on I-80 as a main thoroughfare. So it's still important to either pre-print directions or buy a paper map, just in case. Also, don't forget to have an insurance plan with a roadside assistance, or travel with someone that does. It's good to have just in case if something goes wrong. If you can't get your car ready in time, or can't afford the cost to get all the tune-ups needed done, then it may be best to consider other methods of travel. Be it asking for a ride with someone, or through public methods that we'll discuss later on. This brings me to the next bit, sharing a ride. If you have a large enough vehicle that can carry more than just you and a bunch of suits, and know a couple of friends who are going to the con too, then you can offer to bring them to the con. This can also be a good way to save on costs by having the gas or electric bills split among everyone on board. Be it split evenly at the end of the trip, or have passengers take turns on paying at the pump. Just keep in mind the following tips in order to ensure a smooth sailing. First, will you be the only driver, or will you rotate over time? Discuss whether or not food should be allowed in the car. Oh, and by the way, whoever's driving gets music privileges. It's only fair. When nature calls, be sure that everyone knows to alert the driver just when the feeling hits, and not when you absolutely must go. Believe me, I've had accidents happen that way. This saves a lot of issues when you're miles away from the nearest exit. And please have a dedicated waste bin or waste bag, and ensure that it's cleaned out during the rest periods. With that, you should have a fun trip to your con. Now, there are some of us who may not have a car or know anyone who can offer a ride. For most places in the US, especially if you're on a budget, taking the bus may be the best option. Arguably, it's the cheapest form of public transit out there. Here in the US and Canada, you're likely to experience either Greyhound or Flixbus. And let's be honest, for the most part, they're one and the same. So what's the difference? Greyhound has the larger coverage and most of the stops are in actual depots or parts of train stations. Flixbus, it's usually a sandwich board sign on a curb in either a city bus stops or airports. The upside is, with Flixbus, if you're in a region that is served by them, they tend to be the cheaper option. If you're only going about 12 hours or so, then taking the bus is a great affordable option. However, do keep in mind that you do get what you pay for. The bus only goes as fast as the traffic around you, and you will be subject to a variety of delays. Please bring your own snacks on board, as for the most part you won't have a meal stop unless it's a rest area or a bus stop vending machine. Speaking of, these rest stops are also preferred places to do your business. While there is a restroom on board, it is more of a glorified porta potty on wheels. It's not all bad though. I mean, most of these buses are modern with power outlets and Wi-Fi, so you should be able to keep yourself occupied. While we're at it, I would also like to inform you of these tips should you choose to bus it, courtesy of wonderwisdom.com. First, book early. Greyhound splits their fares between economy and flexible, and you can often get discounts if you book your trips in advance. Just keep in mind that non-flexible means non-refundable should you change your plans. Second, arrive early. It is recommended that you get to the bus depot or curb at least 1 hour prior to departure. This will allow you to get checked in and ready for boarding in time, which brings us to the next bit. Line up as soon as possible. This is really a case by case, as some Greyhound depots will board you by the order on your ticket, but for the most part, regardless of who you ride, the seating is first come first serve, so if you want to have a choice on where you sit, get in line early when they call your bus. Also, be sure to know the baggage allowance. You're allowed one checked bag for free alongside a backpack. The checked bag is what goes under the bus and can't be any larger than 62 cubic inches and or more than 50 pounds. If you are doing an overnight trip, in which case, why? How dare you? RIP, my condolences. Stay on the bus or at the depot should you end up in a nighttime layovers, and that should do it. Do you have any stories about going to con on the road or taking the bus? Please leave a comment down below sharing your adventures. Special thanks to Tuxedo Kitty and Super J Hawk for their helpful insights on road tripping to conventions. If you like my stuff, please leave a like, subscribe, and do support me by joining the Foxbusso Coffee Club at coffee.com/Foxbusso. I'll be including some additional content on there as the series continues, so please buy me a coffee and you'll get to view these extras. Zoran Manray said, "Pretty good initial video, though dealer's den costs are entirely optional, because while it's fun to browse and buy from the dealers, it really is an optional cost that those on a tight budget do not need to spend anything." Yeah, you have a point here, but it is entirely optional to have a budget for dealers. I just included it there because artists are kind of essential part of the fandom and we need to support them, but if you're on a tight budget, you really shouldn't be spending on the dealer stand. Striker Husky says, "I bring more than $1,000 since it's a vacation for me and need to enjoy everything." How to split that up? I mean, okay. I mean, sure. Until next time. Yep.